and welcome to the Momversation Club, the podcast born out of the idea that every mum needs a tribe. I'm Claire Strong.
And I'm Christina Struckmeyer. We're two moms just like you, navigating the chaotic, challenging, and often isolating world of motherhood.
Now, it's said that it takes a village to raise a child, but we want to know, where the F is that village?
It's a question that resonates with so many of us who find ourselves managing careers, raising children, and trying to maintain our own sense of identities alongside that, often with a sense of isolation.
But we're here to remind you that you're not alone. The Momversation Club is your village, a place where you feel valued, appreciated, and understood.
We believe that by sharing our experiences, successes, and struggles, we can create a virtual village for all you amazing mamas out there.
So join us every week for an honest, raw, and relatable discussion about all aspects of being a mum, including the stuff you can't talk about with anyone else.
So if you've ever asked yourself where the F is the village, then you found your tribe. So let's get into it.
Hi, Christina.
Hey, Claire. Good morning.
Good morning. I don't know whether you can hear, but my neighbor's dog is barking right now. So we may have a bit of canine interference, but it's not my dog.
I was just going to say.
They're not,
your dogs are the best podcast behavior lately. I haven't heard them in a while.
Well, that's because they haven't been here, because
that's all
my
sad.
mum and dad is staying with us, and my dad is taking them to the beach to coincide with our filming schedule. So they're currently on Dog Beach in Del Mar having the time of their lives.
What a life to live. I want to come back as your dogs in the next life.
Oh my God, me too. They have the best life. Oh my gosh. So what are we chatting about today?
Well, we were thinking about topics, and something that I feel strongly about when it comes to like relationships with other mamas is when you can share when shit hit the fan or went really south with someone, they feel a little bit more human themselves and maybe a little bit better about like something they've done. So today we're going to talk about mom fails. And our personal, like, biggest mom fail that we've occurred so far in our motherhood journey. So hopefully you guys leave this episode feeling like a little less alone and a little bit more like, oh, okay, they're on my level. Or maybe worse.
So let me, could be that too. So let me just clarify, because I was thinking about my biggest mum fail of 2023, but you're actually expanding, you're casting out the net. You're
I'm going to like my biggest mom fail that I've had thus far. But I would love to hear like your current mom fail. I think it'll be a nice juxtaposition.
Well, you see, I was thinking about the one that is like freshest in my memory. So I'm going to share that one. It just happens to be one from 2023. By the way, I'm loving your earrings. If you're watching us on YouTube, check out Christina's earrings. They are so pretty. Love them.
Thank you. I'll have to share on Instagram, but my husband for Christmas this year bought me like a really pretty jewelry organizer, and I went through this giant pile of earrings I've been accumulating, and I've just been shoving them in my bathroom drawer. And once I put them all up and like they're all decoratively displayed, I went, I have a lot of earrings, and also I tend to buy leopard print and teal.
Yeah, so I'm kind of similar. So I love earrings. I don't wear a lot of other jewelry, but I love my earrings. These that I've got on, again, if you're looking on YouTube, maybe you can see these are pretty. These are from England, but they're kind of similar to what you've just said. I like blues, like shades of blue. So these are my go-to earrings. But anyway, I digress. I just love your earrings. So
thank you so much. Good. I'm always like, well, it's funny because we are going to be doing this podcast for a long time, right? And I'm looking at these other creators, and they're on like episode 420, and I'm like, I'm gonna run out of things to wear. Like, we're gonna have to go shopping.
I'm serious. We need a bloody clothing budget here, don't we? At the Momversation Club, we're gonna need to up our game in 2024. So listen. So will you go first? Will you share your epic mum fail then? If this is like across your entire career as a mum, this is probably bad. Okay, go on.
So I've had many mom, like many as in M-I-N-I. I've had a lot of many mom fails throughout my like motherhood career. Yeah. Things like, oh shit, I accidentally bonked the baby's head in the door frame, or like drop them, or like,
you reminded me of one. Actually, I'm going to switch my mom fail. You reminded me of a great one. Well, it wasn't great, but it was terrible. But okay.
Like the other day I was
Yeah.
strapping in Lenny and like I accidentally pinched her belly with the straps and like
Yeah.
there's been a lot of like little ones. But
Yeah.
God, when I thought about mom fails for today's topic, I
Mhm.
couldn't help but think of this time when Stella was younger.
Okay.
So there was a time, it was during like this time of year actually, it's like post holidays.
Yeah.
And the space between like Christmas and New Year's is like as a mom, so you're like not functioning correctly. Like
Not
you're
at
on the
all.
fritz.
Yeah.
You're on the fritz.
Yeah.
And like
You don't
your
know what day of
routine's
the week
off.
it is. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
exactly. You don't know what week it is. You're like, I'm full of like desserts and like turkey and like I'm here.
yeah.
I was visiting my mom post Christmas
Mhm.
and it was cold outside.
Mhm.
And I got out of my car and I went around to get Stella out of her car seat. And
Right.
I accidentally locked the door, and the car keys were in the middle console. And I was about 40 minutes away
Oh.
from my spare keys. And so I locked her in the car. And
Mm.
it was cold outside, so thankfully she had like a little blankie on her, and she was totally fine. She thought it was hilarious. She was like waving at me. I think she might have been maybe 2.5.
Oh God,
And
it wasn't
I
hot.
I freaked out.
I
It
bet
was
you
such
did.
a big deal. Like I remember this sheer panic because I like went around the car and I went to open her door, and then I realized immediately what had
Oh,
happened.
oh
And
no.
I freaked out, and I felt like the worst mom ever
Yeah.
because I was like, who does that? Like, who locks their kid in the car? If
Yeah.
it had been warm, I would have broken a window immediately,
Yeah.
but it was
Sure.
cold,
Yeah.
thankfully. And yeah, we were trying to like figure out a way to open the door. I called my grandfather. He brought like this hanger, and he was trying to open the door that way. We ended up having to call a tow truck for AAA and like have them come out and open the door. And the whole time I'm sobbing and I'm like on the back glass, like, just trying to entertain her, peekaboo. And I felt like the worst mom alive. And I have PTSD from that. So now whenever I lock the door, I make sure I have my keys in my hand or in my pocket
Yeah.
because I'm terrified of doing that again. It was so
Yeah.
scary.
That's a bad one. I'm so sorry. That must have been so traumatic
Oh,
for
it's
you.
the
Traumatic
worst.
for you because it sounds like Stella was kind of unscathed.
She thought it was hilarious. She was laughing because it's me, my grandfather, my
Yeah.
mom, and we're all like trying to entertain her in the windows. And she's just like, this is the best day ever. Look at all these
Oh
people
my
around the car.
God. Oh, well,
And I'm
thank
just like,
goodness that she
oh,
took it like that. Because can you imagine how much worse it would have been if she'd have been bawling her eyes out and
oh
totally
my gosh,
stressed? Like
so much worse.
you'd have been
And
like 10 times worse.
I think the panic of like, the only other time I felt like that as a mom is one time I accidentally lost her for like a second. She
Oh
was
God,
just like
worse.
in a broom closet at a play space instead of like
Yeah,
being in the main room. I took
yeah,
my eyes off for a second.
yeah.
Children that age are fast as thunder. Like it is
Oh, they
crazy
are.
how
Yeah,
fast.
yeah, yeah.
And the feeling of like, oh my God, I've locked them in, or oh my God, I've lost them.
Yeah.
Your stomach just completely sinks down.
Because the other thing is, you go to worst case scenario in like 1 second. You don't
Yeah.
think, oh, okay, they're just in a cupboard. So you're like, oh my God, has someone taken them? Have they like escaped?
Have they
And then
walked
has
out of
someone
the
taken them?
playhouse?
It's always to me like that's what I always think about. If ever I've been in a kind of similar situation, it's the oh my God, what if someone's taken them? That's the
Yeah. And
thought
then
I always have.
there's so much content. I don't know if it's like 24-hour news cycle or like the
Mm,
age of like like lots of like Each for Hollywood Stories and like, those kinds of
yeah.
shows. But
Mhm.
like I'm always thinking like worst case scenario. So if I were to
Yes,
lose
you do.
my child, I
Yeah.
learned this tip from TikTok where it's like
Right.
start yelling what they're wearing. So like if you
Oh.
lose your child in a crowd, just start yelling like red shirt, black pants, like whatever they're wearing
So a
instead
bit
of their
like the
name.
police tunnel, like when so where we live, sometimes the police helicopter will fly over the beach or near our house, and they're yelling out on the tannoy on the loudspeaker what the suspect is wearing, whoever it is they're trying to capture.
Well, that's
It's like
that's a whole
baseball cap,
that
check, or because we live in San Diego, it's like, surfer, surfboard, no shoes, no
What are you
top.
supposed to do if you see that person? Like, be all vigilante about it and
I
tackle
know.
them?
I think that, yeah. And then sometimes it gets really bad, and they say, "Give yourself up." The dogs are on their way. So it's like, my God, like it's it's all
Well,
rather dramatic. So we have that a lot around here.
oh my
Yeah,
gosh. Well, and
the
I
kind
think
of thing.
that I used to get lost sometimes as a
Yeah,
child.
I got lost. My mom said, yeah,
And my
yeah.
mom did not panic that same way of like that I feel like I would have. My mom was like, "All right, kids, stop messing around. Like, let's go." Like, she was very irritated.
Really? So she
Yeah,
wasn't panicked. She was just like, I've had enough. This is
yeah,
ridiculous. I've got stuff to do, places to
yeah.
be.
My
Show
sister
yourselves."
hide in like the middle section of clothing racks, and she
Mm.
thought it was
Mm.
hilarious to just stay there. And my
Ah.
mom would just yell and be like, "I'm leaving, so if you're not in this car, like, you're gonna live at Target now. Like, let's go."
Oh gosh. So your mum actually probably handled that pretty well, because it sounds like if you or I would have been in that scenario, we would have been highly stressed.
I would have freaked out. Like, code Adam, lock the doors, let's go. Like, I need to find my.
Yeah.
But you know what? It's crazy because
Mm.
I feel that way. But I worked retail for a really long time, and
Yeah.
I worked at Walmart.
Yeah.
And I remember people would lose their kids all the time, and like they would not be freaking out. They'd be like irritated that that kid got lost.
Yeah, I mean, I think back to when the girls were younger and we were in a supermarket, grocery store, and they'd be going down a different aisle to me. I was, down one aisle putting stuff in the trolley in the cart. Oh, that's another thing. Carts in England are called trolleys, so a supermarket trolley. Okay, so if I say trolley, you know what I mean. I mean a
You're
cart.
not thinking of like
But
I'm thinking trolley like a bus, but you're
no,
thinking
that's a
cart.
tram. That would be a
Got it.
tram in England. So there's so many differences. That's a tram.
Okay.
So
Okay.
yeah, so I'd be in the supermarket with the trolley, putting food into the trolley, and one of the girls would have just taken themselves off to a different aisle. And then, so you're walking up and down the different aisles, shouting their name. And I try not to be panicked at first, but then, after about a minute, okay, there's no child. And then what makes you even more nervous is that other people, just strangers, they're starting to think, oh dear, there must be something. Oh, there's a missing child. So they start,
Yeah.
kind of paying attention, and then that amplifies your stress.
Yeah.
So I hear you. Well, shall I share
Yeah.
my fail?
Yeah,
So
yeah. Well, make me feel a little bit better about myself because I locked my kid in the car. So, listeners, if you haven't done that, you're winning.
So I was going to share my mum fail of 2023, but now we've casted the net a little wider. I've got a far more drastic mum fail.
Ooh,
So this
I'm
is bad.
interested.
This is worse than yours. This is really bad.
Whew.
Okay. So,
Okay.
God.
Okay. I'm
Yeah,
ready.
so are you feeling comfortable? Are you you sat down?
Yes.
So Mia would have been around 2. We were living in England, and I was pregnant with Eva, and I was cleaning the house, and I was vacuuming and whatever else, and I was in the bathroom. Oh my God, I don't even think I can say it out loud. It's so bad. I needed to close the bathroom door because I needed to vacuum with the door shut. Oh God, this is awful. And I shut the door, and there was something in the door. And I thought Sophia was in her bedroom. She wasn't in her bedroom. She'd come out of the bedroom, and unbeknown to me, she'd got her fingers in the door. And so I thought there was something wedged in there. So I shut the door again, but like 3 times as hard.
Oh no.
I slammed the door on her fingers. I didn't know she was there, Christina. I nearly,
No,
and
she's like super, super tiny at that point. How would you know?
she was 2, and she was in a room playing with the dolls, and that's where she was. And so
Oh,
that was, an oversight on my part, but I had no idea she was there. I thought she was in a bedroom, and I didn't shut the door once. I shut it twice, like doubly hard. And then there wasn't anything. There was no noise for a second, and then this scream, and I was like, "Oh my God." And then what happened was, so I thought I'd broken about 3 or 4 of her fingers. And I hadn't got my car that day. I think my car was in the garage in the shop being repaired. And anyone that I knew was at work. So no one was like nearby. And so in England, because you don't pay for healthcare, well, you do, it comes out of your wages, but it's not like in the States, we have the NHS. So it basically is free healthcare. the only thing I thought to do was call an ambulance. So I called 999, which is the equivalent of 911 here. And I said to them, I'm really sorry. I don't mean to waste people's time, but I've got a toddler daughter and I've slammed the door on her fingers. I'm really concerned. I've broken like 3 of her fingers and I'm heavily pregnant and I don't have a way to get to the hospital and I need to get her checked out.
Yeah.
And so they were like, don't be silly. This is absolutely fine. We'll send an ambulance. And because you don't pay for ambulances in the UK, it was fine. So luckily her fingers weren't broken, but oh my God, I think the worst part of all of that was, Christina, if I'd have shut the door once and realized, that would have been bad enough. But because she hadn't reacted initially, I think she was in shock, I slammed the door again, like twice.
Oh, Claire. First off, thank you for being brave and sharing that, because I guarantee
that's pretty traumatic. I feel, when I've
done that.
When I recite the story, it's like, oh God, that's
you're going back to that place, right? It's like when I was talking about the car situation, I can remember the panic of like, oh my God, like what if this had been, and you go to worst case scenarios, what if this had been like a heat wave? What if I couldn't get her out? Like, what if she's screaming? Like, your situation, it's cause for like freaking out. And I would feel the same way.
It is.
Oh, girl.
That's been my
Does she remember that at all? Like, has she ever mentioned it?
Thankfully, because that would have been pretty traumatic. She doesn't. And she hadn't, thank God, I hadn't broken her fingers. So that was my worst one felt. I mean, there have been many, but that was probably the most traumatic.
But you know what makes me feel better is, and not to throw my mother under the bus, but like there are so many worse. There are so many worse mom fails that involve me. Like, just to make you feel better about the finger situation, when I was 1, my mom threw a party. And because my mom was young, you got to remember, my mom was 16 when she had me. Okay. And so someone stepped on me and broke my leg. Yeah. Oh my God. I had a cast. Like, there was a cast situation on my leg, and like a lot of pictures in my like first year. So, you know, it could have been worse.
Okay, so in a situation like that, and kind of it was similar in the situation when I trapped Sophia's fingers in the door by mistake, obviously. You're also concerned about the reaction from the authorities, because if you're like, oh my God, they're going to think I'm abusing my kid.
That's the thing too, is like to this day, there are conflicting accounts of what happened that day. Like my grandmother has a story, my mom has a story. I'm like, someone's not truthing over here. And then also, this is the ultimate fail. I'm gonna fully throw her under the bus right now, but like just to throw it out there, because this is the story I tell people.
Okay. Yeah.
There was a time once when my mom's a young mom. Yeah. And for a large portion of her life, she did not have a driver's license because she didn't go to school. She dropped out in like sophomore year of high school to have me. She never went really back, and she did some night school but never finished. And so in school, you would do driver's ed, you would get your license and all that. So she didn't have a license for a while. And then she would have like boyfriends who had cars that weren't registered to her. Her boyfriends were kind of shady sometimes. And so there would be cars that like may not have been secured by the best ways.
I hear you.
One time we were all headed down the road to go get a soda, which is something, we were poor. We did a lot. Like my mom would have like these little food stamp books that used to be back in the 90s. In the United States, we had food stamps instead of the cards that they have now. So my mom would have like extra ones, and we'd be like, all right, let's go to the corner store and get like a Slurpee or get a soda. So we all loaded in the car, me, my sister, and my brother. And it's like this old car with no seat belts, and we all shove in there. Head over there. We get back in the car, and my sister and I are fighting over the front seat. And I get the brave idea. Yes. And I get the idea of like, I'm going to shut the door really fast so that she can be like, you know, ha ha ha, you're on the other side of the door, I've locked it. And so I thought I got one on her, and I was holding my Dr. Pepper.
Yeah.
We turned the corner to go in the apartment, and my car door wasn't shut. It was locked, but it wasn't shut. And I flew out of the car.
What? How is this still even here?
She was turning the corner into the apartment complex. So it was a slow turn, right? She was maybe going like 5 miles an hour, right? But like, I flew out of the car onto the road. Okay.
Were you injured?
Yeah. But
What
much
happened? What
contrary to
happened
your
to you?
story, we do not have free healthcare in the United States. So we have a different outcome. So
Yeah.
I got up. I was probably maybe 7 or 8 at this time.
Oh God,
And so I
Christina.
get
Yeah.
up and
Yeah.
I am on the road, and my mom says, "Quit effing around and get back in the car." She's mad at me.
No.
And then
Oh
she's like,
my
"You spilled
God.
Dr. Pepper all over my car." Like, this isn't my car, it's my boyfriend's car. She's all mad at me. "I don't have a license. Get your ass in the car." And so I get in the car. My
Yeah.
skin is missing the right side.
Christina. Oh my
No, I'm not
God.
kidding. This is making you feel better, right?
Well,
So
yeah, I do now. Terrible.
my skin is missing, and my mom is like, "We don't have any health insurance. I can't take you to the ER. I can't afford any of that. We're just gonna neosporin you and like spray you off in the shower and like hope for the best."
Oh my God, this is horrendous. And
So that's what we
what
did.
happened? Did it heal?
Yeah. I mean, there's no mark or scar or anything. It must have not been so, like, it felt, there was pieces of road in my
Oh my
stomach.
God. Oh my
So
God. I bet that
she
shower
was
was
mad at me for falling out of the car.
Oh my God.
So anyways, whenever I think of that time I locked my daughter in the car or dropped her or like hit her head on something or
Yeah.
she rolled off the table, like, I'm like,
Yeah.
at least she didn't fall out of a car, you know?
So I
Like,
do have one more I want to briefly share with you. Yeah, I hear you. It kind of makes you feel less
makes you feel
terrible.
better as a mom, right? Like, everybody's messed up worse.
It does.
Like, there's
But
somebody out there.
just to clarify, you do still talk to your mum, don't you? You
I love my mother dearly, but
Oh,
she did not make the best decisions for probably the first 12 years of my life.
oh,
She was
geez.
growing up when I was growing up. So there's a lot
Yeah.
of stories where it's like, I don't think that that's okay, but it did happen.
Oh my God. I think we need a whole episode dedicated to maybe our parents' mistakes and how they impact us. But one more little
Yes,
it's not
yes,
that
yes.
little,
Bring
but
it
just
in.
because you reminded me of something. So I was living in France with my girls, so they would have been really young. So Eva at this point was still, maybe she was 6 months old, something like that. And we had wooden floors, and she rolled. Oh, I put her in the center of the bed, and I turned my back for a second, and she was obviously at the age where she'd started to roll. And she rolled off the bloody bed and straight onto
Oh,
the wooden floor. And it's
you
that
hear the
thud.
bonk?
Yeah, it's the thud. Your heart just drops. I'm like, oh my God, maybe I've given her brain damage. Luckily, she was fine. But you
You
are so
sure?
freaked out. I mean, well, she acts like me, so I don't know whether it's the fall or whether she's just inherited my personality. I don't know. And but thank God, I was like, oh, this is not good. I heard that thud and then a cry, and
Oh,
then you just feel like you're the worst mom in the entire world.
it
So,
happens,
but
man.
your mom makes
They're
you
so
feel a little
quick.
better. They are so
Well,
quick.
I feel like that's another thing that my mom says a lot. She'll say something like, "Well, I messed up a lot, but like you're fine." And I'm
Yeah.
like, "Be determined." Like, I mean,
Oh,
I don't know
wow.
if I'm fine. I've survived, but
You survived.
well, like, it's like
That's
that
great.
when you see like a dandelion in the middle of concrete, you're like, "How are you here? You're
Yeah.
blooming."
Yeah,
But
yeah. Well, listen, what about our listeners? We'd love to hear your epic mum
yeah,
fails. Just make us feel a little less terrible about ourselves. But we've all had them. We've all had them, Christina, haven't we?
oh, yeah. And I think the purpose of today's show, the reason I wanted to talk about that is because if you've had a mom fail, when you're in that moment, like Claire's situation with the fingers, or for my situation with the car door, like you feel like no one else has ever screwed up this bad. And you're so like hard on yourself and like, oh my gosh, I'm the worst. No, we all screw up. We all have that stuff. And that's the thing about this Momversation Club is we want to talk about stuff that no one talks about. You're not going to meet Susie Q at the mom group, and she's not going to be like, yeah, there was a time I locked my kid in a car. That doesn't come up.
Yeah, it's not generally going to be volunteered, is it? But
No.
it's we all do it, and like you say, we can be so hard on ourselves. And I think it's the fear of being judged, Christina.
Yeah, there's no judgment here.
But I think when you're in that situation, you're one of your first responses is, what are people going to think of me? Like, they're going to
Yeah.
think I'm such a terrible mum because I let this happen. So we get it. We've been there. So we'd love to hear your mum fails. Just make us feel a little better about ours.
Well, and then again, like, we don't judge as long as it's legal. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, there's a fine line, but
Timeline. But we've
oh
all been
god.
there. And so, yes, please let us know. We hope that you guys have enjoyed today's episode and laughed at our mistakes and our mishaps. And we love you for listening.
We love you guys so much, and we love it when you comment and when you talk to us. So please keep that up. We love getting your comments. And that brings us to the end of another episode of the Momversation Club.
And if you've enjoyed today's show, which we hope you have, please don't forget to subscribe, like, and leave a review. Your support helps us reach even more mamas and build a stronger village.
And remember, we're here for you, and together I promise we'll figure out where the F that village is at.
See you next time.
Bye.